Okay, today's video is a question and answer segment. I put out in my stories, I asked the community to send me questions that they would have for me so that I can have a conversation with you in this video today. And I have a lot of questions, a lot to get through. You'll see me looking down, maybe taking a sip of my coffee because it is early on a Friday morning. And while as I'm taping this, I just got an offer on Macari. Life is good. Life is good. So hopefully you enjoy this question and answer segment. Hey friends, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you so much. Just that you just continue to show up on my behalf. Hopefully, I'm providing information and content that you like. Today, I'm just going to do a question and answer segment. I'm laid back. I have on my nice, comfortable, holy Vineyard Vine shirt. I was going to sell it, but then it had a few holes in it, so I decided to keep it for myself. It's just fitting me, and it makes me look like I have like some little muscles there. So, so, so I'm probably going to be sipping my coffee and drinking my water. There's quite a few questions. I like to talk. So hopefully you like to listen. And I'm going to jump right in. And if I'm looking down, that's because I'm looking at my piece of paper. I'm old school. I keep forgetting that I could create a screenshot and read from there, but I like to write things down. And it makes it better when it's in my own handwriting. Maybe not. So the first question is, how long have I been married to Thomas? Well, I've been married to Thomas. It will be 9 years in November. It is currently September 25th, and it'll be 9 years in November. And a little bit more about that. Thomas and I met online. He answered a personal ad of mine that I had on Craigslist, and then our story began. We met in August, and we were married by November. And so that's the answer to that question. How did I manage 5 children? Really great question. I don't think I managed them. I feel like I floated through life with them because at the time I also was in a relationship, a marriage that I wasn't very happy with. So not only did I have to manage the 5 children, I had to manage a relationship. And so I just got up every day and did what I had to do. I took care of them the way that I believed that they should have been taken care of. I gave them love. I gave them all the things that they needed. I think that's really important for people to understand. I think the needs are more important than the wants. There are so many people who say, I want to give my children everything that I didn't have. And I gave my children everything that I didn't have. And none of that included material things. It included love. It included attention. It included respect. It included conversation, dialogue. And it included everything. We had fun. We cooked together. I taught them responsibilities. They know how to individually go out and live their life. So I managed them just by getting up every day and doing what needed to be done. There were days that I was exhausted. I'm pretty sure people can relate to that now, especially what we're going through with the pandemic and a lot of the virtual homeschooling. But I did that on purpose. I came home because my daughter. I came home first because I was having my 4th child, and I just didn't believe that I needed to pay daycare. I came home from a corporate environment. I process claims, medical, life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment, and worked for a company for 12 years. When I came home to have my son, and then 3 years later, I had my daughter who was born with hydrocephalus. So I decided to stay home a little bit longer than that. So a combination of 8 years. I waited until she was 5 and able to go off to school. And so I just did what I needed to do. I got together a couple homeschool groups, and that was my kids' play date. And then I was able to take them to like little 2-day or 3-day a week, nursery school programs, Montessori programs. So I worked it out. Financially, we were in a rough place, but they didn't know it because, again, they had everything that they needed. All the essentials. They had a place to live, a place to eat, a mother who cared for them. And that's the best. I taught them everything. They were prepared for school when it was time for them to go in. And I just did the best that I can. No one's perfect. I'm far from perfect. But I think love and respect is the best thing that I could have did for my children. And the other thing, the best thing was teaching them how to be responsible for themselves. So when you're saying manage, by the time each of them got to a certain age, they knew independently how to wash their clothes, how to cook, how to get up in the morning and prepare, even if it was cereal, so that I didn't have to do all those things, because we put more pressure on ourselves than we need to. So I really wouldn't even consider managing. I was just a parent who just figured it out as I went along. Now, with my youngest being 18, I can't even believe that I did it. But it was like almost in a sense a blur, but the best part of my journey. So thank you for that question. How did your life change once you became a blended family of 10? Well, it changed dramatically because one, got married. So I moved from my city, Philadelphia, to Delaware. And when we first moved together, because Thomas was insistent that he didn't want to get a house or anything because he didn't know how things would turn out, we end up moving into his 2 bedroom apartment. So we had four and five, sometimes five children in 1 bedroom, and then Thomas and I in another. And it was crazy in the beginning. And then thankfully, 2 months later, we were able to move into the house that we currently live in now. And that was 8 years ago. So, but we at no time had all of the children together because Thomas is a little older than me. So he has 3 adult children. Well, everyone's adult now. Our 2 youngest are 18, but they were both going into 5th grade when I moved in with Thomas. So now they're both freshmen in college. So that just gives you an idea. But my oldest daughter was an adult, and I brought 4 children in with me, and then his youngest daughter lived with us every day until for the whole her middle school years, so 6, 7, and 8, and then she moved back in with her mom. But at no time has all 10 of the children lived together. So it hasn't really been with the children. It hasn't been any type of challenges, but just functioning every day, getting used to life when you blend a family anyway. And I'm pretty sure people can relate to that. So it wasn't like too challenging because my personality is the same. I'm pretty laid back, and I just try to treat people the best way that I can. So I've always loved his children, and hopefully they love me at least a little bit. And of course, I love my children bunches and bunches. Number 4, how did you start reselling? Well, I started reselling because I married this wonderful man, Thomas. Thomas is a retired firefighter. And when he got separated from his ex-wife, he retired after 25 years to come to Delaware. They had moved to Delaware. So he moved to Delaware. And then again, we met like through the personals. We built a relationship. We got married. I moved here, but he was already retired. But I had to work because, again, I brought 4 children into the marriage. And so just getting used to each other, we were kind of going in different directions because he was really big doing the flea market and he was going to the bins every single day because he had a specific sourcing strategy. So I didn't want our relationship to end before it started. So I said to him, show me what you do. I'm really interested in learning how to resell or do something. And so he just kind of started showing me a little bit of what he was doing. And that's how I got started. And because at the time I was a lunch lady and I had flexible hours, the days that I was off and the days like the holidays and especially the summer, we really could spend a lot of time together. And I was done work by 2 o'clock. So we could always, I would say, can you hold off on going to the bins on a specific day so that I can come with you and get my sourcing, because I'm really particular about sourcing. I only source 1 or 2 times a month when I'm actually going to the physical stores because I don't enjoy it. So he taught me a lot, like, of what he was doing. And I really appreciate that because it's brought me this community as I became in search of people who do what I do. So that's why I got started, because of my wonderful husband. Let's see. And to piggyback off of that, why don't you and Thomas have a combined business? We don't work well together that way. So our businesses will never be combined. What I will say, our marriage is a partnership. We're partners in life, and the decisions that we make for our household, for our children, and for our individual businesses are made as a partnership. We're together in that. I don't do anything that's going to affect us financially without discussing it with him, and vice versa. But we have different mindsets. He was more focused on selling men's clothes. He's just starting getting used to women's shoes and still more women's outerwear. He doesn't get into shirts and dresses and skirts or any of that. Whereas, of course, I'm coming from a different perspective. And then when I started selling, he was on eBay, and I didn't really want to deal with that platform because he seemed to be grumbling about it a lot, complaining. So my sister had told me about Poshmark. So that was my introduction into the selling platforms. And then I transitioned to eBay. But because he has a different mindset and I have a different mindset, he doesn't move at the same pace as I do. I'm more into technology and social media. We can't come together, but I'm always helping him. I'm teaching him how to use Instagram and about YouTube and things like that. So just today I was telling him, like, just take some videos and some pictures and things, and I'll show you how to break everything down into stories, onto Instagram and into IGTV, so that you can start getting your social media platform going. Because he's always amazed at what I'm doing. It really it surprises me too. So we just really don't work well together like that, and I really wouldn't want to. I think sometimes you have to know your limitations as a couple, and that's ours. We do date night, we eat dinner together, we go for walks together, we have a relationship outside of our businesses. But the cool thing is, because we do both resell, we can have a conversation every day, and he doesn't have to be like a lot of women who contact me whose husbands, or even husbands who have wives, they have no idea what they're doing. At least Thomas has an idea of what I'm doing, so I can talk to him and he's not looking at me like, what are you talking about? So we're not going to combine our businesses. It says, do you like reselling? Honestly, I'm not really like in love with it. I like it. That's why I still continue to do it. I think it's a great way to make money, to supplement. And if you really want to become full time, that's a whole nother video in itself. I probably need to do that. And I've probably done that before. But I really think it's important to do that. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think it's really important for me to just figure out where I'm comfortable, and that is how I'll like it. So at one point, as I indicated, I didn't like eBay. I really had no intention of dealing with eBay, but then I broke down and then I started selling on eBay, and that was really a good decision, because selling on eBay allowed me to come home. I had a 6-month plan. I was able to come home. Like spitting. I was able to come home in 3 months, and so that was really cool. But I still didn't fall in love with eBay. Poshmark has been my favorite reselling app, and so eBay was just a tool, a way to get me to make a little extra money quicker. And then I was able to save and leave that alone after selling there for a year, and then put all my focus on Poshmark. So it's just for me, it's just another business. I don't consider myself a reseller. I really never have, but that's because this is the community that I've built around me. Of course, I am a reseller, but it's just, to me, it's just one of the businesses that I run. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, and reselling is one of the places, one of the things that I do. Why did you stop selling crochet? I haven't stopped selling my crochet items. I did close down my crochet business. I was an Etsy seller. Well, I've been crocheting for over 30 years. I started when I was 14, put it down for a while, and when my family started growing and I was going through some financial challenges, I picked up the needles again and went online and started printing out patterns and going to the library and pulling out books, just to kind of bring myself to a place of peace. And then I started making items for my family. I was making ponchos and gloves and hats and stuff, and a business was born because my children's friends parents were like, wow, that's really cool, I'm interested. So a small business was born, and then that was a way, that actually a lifesaver, to help me supplement a non-existent income, because I was home at that time. That's around the time that I was staying at home, because my daughter, who was 18 now, was 3, and that's how I got started. She was going to school with these cute hats and stuff. And so a couple years later, I found out about Etsy, and I sold there for 8 years. My favorite all around platform to sell on. I love it. I made really good money, and it allowed me to really truly see that I had potential as a business owner and that I could make something work. So not only did I sell on Etsy, I created a Shopify store. I did vending events for 5 years every Saturday, and on occasional Sunday I would go and sell as a vendor my handmade items. I would set up booths and go from different towns, especially once I moved here to Delaware, from Delaware and Maryland, and sell. So I don't sell as much because of carpal tunnel and arthritis, but I still do make things, and I make all my own winter hats and scarves. I try not to buy from anybody else. I think I'm doing a disservice to myself if I invest in somebody else. Now I'll buy that stuff to sell because I just bought some items to sell, but other than that, I make my own things. So I just made a couple blankets, and I'm going to be releasing a couple scarves I'm going to be releasing soon, starting on Instagram, and then just dropping them into my current Etsy store. How did you get started with tie-dye? Well, tie-dye started just this year. It's currently September 25th, and I started in May. It was a lot going on. Of course, we're inside the pandemic, and then a lot was going on with the BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement. And I am a person who doesn't believe, I don't get myself to a place of getting depressed. I will probably get to a place where I get stressed out. But when the stress starts to move in, I get into my creative mode. And I've always been that way. That's why crochet and baking had always been my go-to, and then, or to sit down and read a book. And so I always wanted to tie-dye. And so I just went onto Pinterest and went from there, and just followed a lot of the Pinterest boards, a little bit on YouTube, not so much with YouTube, but Pinterest was my go-to. Got some white undershirts, some Hanes, couple packs of Hanes t-shirts, and I went from there. And then I was like, I really like it, and started selling on my vintage Etsy store, but I didn't like the way it looked together. So I made several sales, put it out to community, very welcoming, and outside people, because I know how to work Etsy. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to split off and make a whole new Etsy store just for the tie-dye. And that's what I did. So I started tie-dyeing and bleaching, as you can see from this shirt. And then that started taking off. So I just started a new store called Graphic Necessity, which is specifically for like graphics. If it's a band tee, if it's like this Vineyard Vines, if it's TV personality, cartoons. So I actually kind of cross post, but the specific purpose of that Graphic Necessity, which is my separate Shopify website, was to highlight the tie-dye and the bleaching shirts. So that has really been a great thing. The thing with a website, you have to put in a lot of work. So tie-dye just happened to fall in my hands. Some people, because I'm more active in the reselling community, oh, you're riding that wave, it's not going to last. Tie-dye has been around before me. I was born in the 60s. It's the year of 69, which is the man walked on the moon, Woodstock. Tie-dye has been around for a long time. It's never going to go. So I'm like, you know what, I can do it. And sales have been great. So that's how I just got started, out of a way to get myself out of a place of just being stressed and dealing with everything that's on the outside world. You now sell vintage items. How is that going? Vintage is going really well for me. I've always sold vintage, because I didn't mention that earlier. When I first started reselling, my husband would source for me. I didn't source, and he didn't know women's clothes. So everything that he brought to me was from an eye of a man who was in his late 50s. He wasn't really, he said he's never thought of women's, like, if you look good in it, whatever. So he was bringing me a lot of shoes that were vintage, a lot of jackets. I have a lot of blazers, just coats and things like that were vintage. And then I had some other things. He had comic books he wasn't using, and baseball cards, and I had like some older electronics and different stuff that was like old. So in November of 2019, which is, gosh, is going to be a year, I said, let me try vintage, because I started on Etsy, and as a handmade seller, we were like really shocked that they had added vintage. So years ago, I would never have thought of selling vintage on Etsy, but I said, you know what, I know Etsy, I know the platform, let me give it a try. Now the sales weren't like crazy the way like my handmade, and that is because I didn't have a lot and I wasn't really pushing it. But again, when the pandemic started and I had to think about like how I'm going to source, I started thinking, you know what, I want to get into vintage, and let me start looking into it. And I've started finding some companies and also some individual resellers, and I started ordering from them. I have a lot of vintage stuff. I have to get through it. What I want to do is teach myself about it and learn the brands and everything, and learn what's worth money, because vintage isn't just about people wearing your stuff now, and it's about collectors. Like, I just sold a vintage recorder, which is like the flute type plastic recorder from Germany, and I got $31 from it. And sometimes I like to share my numbers or what I made, and sometimes I don't, but that's just to give you an idea of what you could do with vintage. I've sold toys, I've sold vintage lunch boxes. I just sent a vintage thermos off last week. So it's different things you can sell, and I'm trying not to get stuck in just like one area. I want my store to grow. I'll let it be bursting with stuff so that I can make sales, and I'll probably make about 5 sales a week so far. And I'm happy with that because I'm still learning and I'm still listening. So there you go. What are your favorite platforms to sell on? I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee, especially before it gets too cold. And I'm losing my voice. Okay. What are your favorite platforms and why? Poshmark, for the simplicity of it. You literally just list, print out your label. Poshmark is a platform, because of the simplicity, it can spoil a lot of people and it makes them afraid to go to other platforms. But Poshmark, I really like the simplicity, and I also like the community. I've built everything that I've learned in terms of the community has been because of Poshmark, and then also the outside social aspect of it, the Posh and Sips, the Posh Party Lives, Posh Fest, which is coming up next weekend. And so all the people that I've met just on a personal level through Poshmark. So it'll always be like one of my favorite. Etsy is my ultimate favorite. Buyers know your worth on Etsy. From a handmade standpoint, they know what you're putting into it. And so with Etsy, there are no offers. People go in and they just buy it. They'll favorite it. It's almost like liking on Poshmark, and they'll see if you're going to drop your price or whatever. Like if you decide to have a sell, they'll get notified or something. But otherwise, if they really want that item, they'll come back. I had this vintage Betsy Johnson dress on Etsy, and several people just favored it. And it wasn't really high because I didn't really know Betsy Johnson as vintage. I know her currently. And so I put it on there, and I was like, I could have priced it higher, but I think I priced it probably at $29, and people literally were favoring it every day. And it finally sold about a week after I listed it, but I didn't have to drop my price. No one sent me a message saying, can I have it for this amount or whatever. They just know the worth of the item on Etsy. And Shopify, my third favorite, because it's your website. Shopify is the platform, but you create your own website with your domain. It's your name, you own it. And I have two. I have a Reseller's Passion and I have Graphic Necessity. And I can design it, I can charge what I want, I can create a blog, I can do whatever I want on those platforms. So my 3 favorite: Poshmark, Etsy, and Shopify. I'm going to save that other one for last. It says, what are all the places you sell? So I sell on Poshmark, Depop, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp. I haven't made a sale on OfferUp yet. I have 2 Etsy stores. I have a handmade and a vintage. I have 2 Shopify stores. One is my business, everything that I do for a Reseller's Passion, where my ebook and digital products and my consulting and everything is there. You can hire me to be a speaker, that kind of stuff. And Graphic Necessity, which is where I have these graphic tie-dye and bleach tees. And then what other businesses do you have? So I have a Teespring, which is a drop shipping business where you can design t-shirts, leggings, phone cases, bags, home essentials like pillows and blankets. And you can design, I go into Canva and design things for the reselling community. I have some swag for Reseller's Passion podcast. My other brand, Am I Really Bald? Or some, I have alopecia, so I have cups that say Baldy and different things like that. And it's a drop shipping company where you design it and you get, when you make a sale, you get a portion of it. So if I sell a shirt for like $22, I make $9. Hey, I designed it. I don't have to send anything out. They can order it and it arrives at their house as if I, had the cry cut and did everything myself. I have coaching where I help people develop a business plan for themselves. I help them walk through it. They can chart. They can pay me. I coach through Zoom. They pay for an hour or 2 hours, and I help them develop a plan based on some of the practices that I've used for myself in diversifying my business and creating multi streams of income. So, from a business plan, whether you want to grow as a reseller, whether you want to build a podcast, start a YouTube channel, I help you with that. And it's definitely, I've only had 3 coaching participants who are resellers. Everyone else is what I consider mainstream customer who are not resellers. My podcast is monetized. My YouTube channel is almost monetized. I have an ebook that I make really good money from. Digital downloads, which are just some of the printouts that are inside my ebook. I sell recipes. I was a professional baker, and I've been baking since I was 6 years old. So I have a family 7-Up cake recipe that I sell for $6. And yes, it does buy. You go to my website, you pay for it, and it's an instant download. And I tell you how you can serve it as a lemon cake or as a 7-Up cake, and what parties or places you can sell it at, what kind of events you can sell it at. I have speaking. People can hire me. It's been last year was a little bit better, and I actually was signed up to speak at different events, but they got canceled. And I haven't, because I was a smaller speaker, so the virtual ones I wasn't able to speak because they had already had like their bigger people, and they kind of cut back the breakout sessions. But I can be hired as a speaker. And then some people don't realize it, but I'm an ordained minister, so I can perform marriages, funerals, christenings, but I prefer just marriages. So if you do need someone, there you go. And then, so the last question is, why do you show up every day on Instagram? What's in it for you? There's nothing in it for me except for happiness. And I show up on Instagram because I want people to see what a regular person looks like. It's different, actually, it's different elements to that. One, what a woman who is comfortable in her skin looks like. That's the first thing. What a Black woman who is comfortable in her skin. A woman over 51 who is comfortable in her skin and knows that life is not over until it is. When it's over, I won't know it, and it won't make a difference. But right now, I'm at the best time in my life. I'm growing, I'm learning. I keep my mind fresh because I am going through perimenopause, and I have moments that I don't remember things. But staying in business and showing up on my podcast and YouTube and Instagram and being a part of the community keeps me going, and it keeps my mind fresh because I keep myself active. So me showing up just as I am, transparent, weight, acne, bald head, it's keeping me true to who I am. I don't have to, remember whatever lie I told or whatever's going on. It just keeps me true. So when people see me, hopefully they see Leslie. I am a reseller's passion, but I am a person behind that name. That is just the name that describes my brand. I am my brand. I don't consider myself to be an influencer. Everyone's an influencer. People that they take words and they change things around based on what society calls for. And I don't look at life like that. Anyone who's out there talking about anything, they're influencing. You're convincing someone to buy something, to use a product, to look at you, to listen to your items. As a Poshmark seller, anytime you list something for sale, an eBay seller, whatever, anytime you talk about your product, you're influencing someone to try your product, So that's basically it. If you're talking about List Perfectly and Joe Mar and B&G, you are an influencer for them. So just to make it clear, whether you have 500 people in your community to 20,000 in your community. And I use that number because I started off in January 2019 with 522, and now I'm at 20,200 or something community members. And so what's in it for me is community. I found a great tribe. I have friendships. I'm building relationships. I'm also able to touch people. They touch me. I learn every day. I go to Instagram on purpose every day with a mission to find at least 3 or 4 posts that have tips or something that engage me and teach me something. I walk away because I hear and I've learned that you learn something every single day. And I believe that to be 100% true. So Instagram for me is not just the platform where I'm at, but I learn from everyone. The new, younger people They impress me, and I'm super proud of all of them, but I'm proud of everyone. I love finding people who are in my age range, who are doing things and didn't believe a year ago that they could, because they're at the same place that I'm at. And I coached a young lady the other day, and she was saying everything. She was talking about all the stuff that I've done. And she's at least 20 years younger than me. But the things that she was talking about, I did, where I just wanted to show up because I didn't have any friends. I just wanted to start a YouTube channel because I wanted to talk about some things that I wasn't hearing. So it was totally amazing to me that someone would, pay me to teach them the things that they're already talking about that I've done. So I'm showing up because I love the community. I'm a community builder. I love bringing people together. I had this idea last year to take my podcast on the road, and I started in Massachusetts. I can't believe November it'll be a year that I went to Massachusetts and met with 9 people, and we did a podcast episode, and then we went to a meet and greet where there was 20 people who otherwise didn't know each other, and now they're building relationships. And I had other places that I wanted to travel this year, but I had to cancel those. They were on the calendar. I didn't pay any money for traveling, but my goal is to bring people together. Instagram calls you followers, YouTube calls you subscribers, Facebook calls you followers, same thing on Twitter. I call you community members. You're not following me. I'm not your leader. We're equals in this place called life. I want you to walk beside me and figure out how we can navigate through our lives and our businesses together. And that's my goal. So I show up every day because I love you. And that's that. So that's all the questions. And actually the last question, what's next for me? So much. I'm never going to stop until I can't move anymore. Really, I just want to start getting in shape. 2 years ago, I lost about 25 pounds, but when I came home and to run my business, I was just sitting. And so the weight came back on. And so I want to get rid of some weight and get back into shape. So that's one of the first things. And I'm starting to change the way that I eat. I want to, by 2 years, be 100% just eating vegan, no more meat. And then so that's what I love about this video that I have coming up, that I just did like a little video, this piece together on this company called Imperfect Foods, where they have all kinds of organics and things like that. And I have like, people probably know Impossible Meat. And I just, oh my gosh, I made some regular burgers for the family and these Impossible burgers for me. And then I used it to, the rest of it to make spaghetti sauce. And it was like amazing. So I know that there's alternatives out there now that I can change my life and live as long as I can. And so business wise, I have an ebook called the Reseller Survival Guide, practical advice for resellers. So I'm taking that book and turning it into a volume 2. I'm revamping the whole book. I printed it out. I'm going page to page and making corrections. And I'm just going to go back to the actual original one and just fill in the corrections. I'm changing the font and I'm changing some of the graphics. I'm taking out, I had a lot of quotes and stuff in there. So I'm taking a lot of that out and just revamping it. And because I want it to be like for people who are not resellers as well. I was happen to be fortunate to be on a person, Shailene Johnson, who is a Beachbody teacher and PIO teacher and a speaker, 528,000 followers on Instagram, and she contacted me to be on her podcast. Once I was on her podcast, I sold like 130 ebooks. And so that spoke to me that, wow, I can do this. So I'm revamping the ebook and I'm doing some other things. I'm not letting all that out yet, but the ebook will be available next week because I have a whole new platform that I'm starting, and I'm going to put the ebook onto my, I'm just going to replace the ebook that is currently available. And let's see, I'm going to be getting more vintage and learning more about vintage, and I'm going to be tie-dyeing just a few fall items. I'm trying not to overwhelm myself, so I try to pick days in which I'm going to do certain things because I will get overwhelmed. I'm a little older, and I have to also take time off for myself. Like if I don't sleep really well at night, when I get up in the morning and I have a cup of coffee and get moving, if I'm still kind of dragging, I allow myself grace for the day and I take time off. So all the businesses that I have, people say, how do you find time? I just really do what I want to do. I write down the most important things and try to get those accomplished. And then for the rest of the day, if I don't, I don't. That is just really how my life flows now. If it things change and it starts getting bigger, then I might hire someone. Thankfully, both of my girls are home, so they'll be helping me with a little bit. They're not very enthusiastic, and I would never force them because they've each individually had their own jobs, and they're old enough that I would never force them to help me. Just kind of encourage, like, if I need a little steaming. My youngest daughter sells on Poshmark, so she knows how to share, and so just a little bit help there, but I'm waiting until I move so that I can get like a true assistant. I can't do it here because I don't want to get settled. I don't want to do anything virtually. I want to be able to have someone that I can physically like pay and say, this is some of the stuff that I need done. I'm not hiring anybody to do any stuff for reselling, but the other things that I need with my website and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on. Again, a big project coming soon. I'm starting a whole new like site, and I have a new Facebook group, and I'll be talking about that because I don't want it just to be resellers. I'm not just a reseller. A reseller's passion, Leslie, a reseller's passion means everything that I'm passionate about, everything that I love, the community, baking, cooking, teaching about Pinterest and Facebook and podcasting and YouTubing. Everything. I want to be able to talk about everything here. And so my new platform is going to be more for mainstream people who want to get into what I'm doing, who want to grow their business. You can come along for the ride if you want. Sometimes people in this community do get a little hesitant about when you charge for different things, but my opportunities are coming, and I have to heed the call. I have to do every single day what needs to be done. So I want to thank you so much for all the questions and sitting through almost 40 minutes of me talking about everything that I'm doing. I just want to let you know that I love you so much. I believe in you. I'm passionate about this community because when I was younger, and even as a like a young adult, people didn't say how they felt. I never felt validated or cared about, even in my marriages. And except until I met Thomas, who sees me. He sees me. And I want to let you know I see you. I validate you. I believe you. And if you're afraid to do something, that's why you should do it. You should step out of your comfort zone. You cannot step until you take the step. Put one foot in front of the other and just start walking. Take the action that you've been holding off. If you keep waking up in the morning with that thought, start writing some stuff down and implementing your plan. Write it on paper, make it plain, share it with some people, make it work. And the final thing is, back there on my wall, you can see that flower print, and it's right in front of me too. Eleanor Roosevelt, her quote, which is my life quote, you must do the thing that you think you cannot do. You must do the thing that you think that you cannot do. Every day I try to do something that I'm afraid of, that I think I'm going to fail at, that I don't think that I can do. And you know what? Unless I try it, I don't know. So every day I do the things that I think that I cannot do. And I thank you, friends. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, giving me a big giant thumbs up, and setting the reminder for future videos. Take care, friends.